Firstly, you can see that this is our TradPack Enhanced IAF version. IAF stands for IRAS Audit File. This enhanced version of our accounting application comes with IRAS compliant features and functions, which include the purchase listing. Simply put in the date. Usually you put in the beginning date of your financial year. It may not necessarily be the 1st of January, so just put in what applies to you. Now, here we have our purchase listing generated automatically without human intervention. Can you imagine if you do not have this IRAS compliant feature? You will have to hire someone, sit her down, give her a spreadsheet, columnize the date, the supplier name, supplier UEN number, invoice number, permit number if you are importing from overseas, the line description of the product, the local purchase amount, the local GST amount, the tax code, the currency type, the foreign purchase and foreign GST. Now, you can imagine record by record, every supplier's invoice represents a purchase transaction. If you have 1,000 supplier invoices for the entire year, you will need someone to just sit there for weeks, even months, and input all this data. Don't you think that it's going to cost you a bomb? Not only that, the IRAS audit file is not just about the purchase listing, but also about the supplies listing as well. Supplies mean what you supply to other people. In other words, your sales invoices. Can you imagine putting in similar information for all your sales transactions? Your sales transactions will definitely be even more voluminous than your purchase transactions. So don't just see a listing in front of you. Try to visualize how much work is involved in coming out with this prescribed listing required by IRAS. If you are going to do this manually, it will probably take you 3 months at least. Isn't that going to be expensive? Well, that covers your sales purchase. How about GL? What is GL listing? Well, it is a more comprehensive kind of listing that includes what was said earlier on the sales and purchase. It includes your capital expenditure. That means transactions other than sales and purchases. One example is fixed assets bought. It goes into the GL listing. Also, telephone expenses, salary, and things like this. So, can you imagine how laborious, time-consuming, and costly this will be? To put together this set of listings for IRAS and then transfer it as a text file to IRAS. This system can do it for you with just the click of a mouse. Everything goes to IRAS audit file in the text format prescribed by IRAS, and you can simply transfer the text file to IRAS. IRAS will put this into their supercomputer, and there you have fully complied with the IRAS compliant accounting requirement. No suffering the hassle of spending months and months making mistakes along the way and incurring high costs to compute and rectify manual listings in order to meet the requirements within a stipulated time frame. To avoid this nightmare, use the opportunity now to upgrade your system to an IRAS compliant one. Beside the IRAS audit file, let us show you the power reports. Perhaps this is a much bigger reason why you should be doing the update, because this is management accounting. Management accounting is information meant for the management to update and keep themselves informed so that they can make good business decisions. Sad to say, accounting information by and large is not used for this manner. It is treated more like statutory accounts rather than management accounts. People in smaller companies do not usually have full-time accountants. They don't have somebody in-house to keep their accounts, and they depend on an external accountant or a tax consultant to just hammer together a set of accounts for tax purpose of submission to IRAS once a year. This makes accounting very costly. You are spending time, money, and resources making accounts for the government, for the authorities, and not for yourself. And is that satisfactory? I don't think so. Now, unless you have a full-time accountant that can massage the information given to you by an ordinary accounting system, you are not going to get very much out of it. The reason being, you need a fair amount of skill in financial management to be able to take some information from the P&L and to take some information from the balance sheet and to juggle this information and come out with meaningful information that will assist you and facilitate prudent financial management and informed decision-making. All this is not possible if you are just using an ordinary accounting system. This is why it is so important to get the enhanced version, which even in the absence of in-house expertise, can give you reports beyond the usual P&L and balance sheet, such as the CAR report. No standard accounting system out there has got this feature. CAR stands for Key Accounting Ratio Report. Let's take a quick peek at the Liquidity Status Report. What do you see? Well, probably three numbers that says current assets, current liabilities, and liquidity ratio. Do you make sense of this? Do you know what is liquidity ratio? And do you know why it is important? If you don't, it is perfectly normal. You are not alone in this because financial management is an area that is seriously neglected by entrepreneurs who do not have the basic training in financial management. They simply cannot see this, which is why even very successful companies went bust, even though the business is good but financial management is poor. They work themselves to a position where they don't have enough working capital. Cash is king in business. You can run into serious problems the moment you run out of cash and working capital. So this liquidity ratio means your current assets exceed your current liability by over 2 times. To be exact, 2.38 times. Does it make sense to you? This is the ratio of current assets and current liabilities. But what are current assets? What are current liabilities? If you don't know the answer, you better start to know the meaning of these two terms. Current assets are liquid assets, which are assets that are already in cash or convertible to cash within a very short time. It takes the form of debtors, customers who owe you money, which is a paper asset that is convertible to cash. It can also be in the form of stocks convertible to cash. Next, we talk about current liabilities, which by now you should have guessed that it is something that you are due to make payment for within 12 months. So, on one hand, you have got your current assets. On the other hand, you have got your current liabilities. In this case, your current assets are more than your current liabilities. It means that you are very well placed. You have good working capital. Now, what is working capital? I have already given you a rough idea. All you need to do is click on this working capital report to get a much clearer picture. In this case, you can see that you have got trade debtors, customers owing you money about $71,000, some petty cash of $800, bank account of $329,000, and cash sales float. Now, here you have money owing to the director, $132,000, and intercompany account, provision for taxation, goods and services tax, paid on the total basis. So if you add up all your current liabilities, it gives you this amount of $169,000. Subtract that from the $401,000, which is your current assets. Then you have working capital of $232,000. So this working capital now gives you a clearer picture than just the liquidity ratio. So do you agree that such ratio and reports are important to every business? So that they do not run their business day to day blindly and precariously without understanding what is working capital. No other accounting program can give you reports like this, which is why we urge you to make your upgrade now. Put yourself in better control. Empower your managers to make more informed decisions with TradPack Enhanced IAF version. Now let's move on to what the KAR report, or Key Accounting Ratio Report, as mentioned earlier. It's a very comprehensive report that will give you a very good feel of your business. So let's put in the period starting from the 1st of November 2014 to the current date. Now this report will tell you for the period specified your total sales turnover, your gross margin, and your gross margin percentage. Now, would you agree this is very useful information? Then it goes on to tell you about your sales turnover at daily monthly intervals. You can see on the average, you are doing $143,000 monthly and $4,779 daily. This is really useful information that will allow you to make informed decisions. But that is not all. The KAR report, or Key Accounting Ratio Report, is something you will find amiss in any ordinary accounting system. This is alien to smaller enterprises that do not have a full-time accountant to derive these figures from the P&L and the balance sheet for them. And even if you do have a full-time accountant, often you will find that accountants don't even have the time to do up this report for you manually. With TradPack Enhanced version, a click of the mouse and that's it. By magic, all this useful information that will empower you to make better business decisions and guard against any precarious situation or danger is generated. You can even tell what your total debtors are at the end of the financial period. It also tells you the average collection cycle in days, which is 15 days. Wow, this company is doing a fantastic job in credit control. Typically, companies will give 30 days credit, but that does not mean average collection cycle will be 30 days. If you are not careful, your average collection cycle can run up to as high as 90 days or more. Without such a report, you will not be alerted to such danger, weaknesses, and shortcomings in your credit control procedure. So, would you not agree that the CAR report is an indispensable tool for management? As you move down to the bottom half of this report, you can see your total current assets, your current liabilities, and your working capital as mentioned earlier. The CAR report is a much more comprehensive report, which also tells you the sales trend for the last 3 months. You can see that in April, you were doing an average of $100,000. In May, you were doing $69,000. And for the month of June itself, you have done nothing yet. Isn't it a rather worrying situation? But not to worry, because with a report like this, you can call up reports on a weekly basis so that you are alerted to questionable figures and you are then put on alert to investigate and take remedial action. So this is why we say TradPack Enhanced IAF version is an indispensable tool for smaller enterprises that do not have in-house financial management expertise and does not have access to such critical information. If you are in the trading business, it can even tell you your average stock turnover and so on. So we hope by now you can see the importance of having the CAR report. You can see that you don't find such reports in ordinary accounting systems. What you normally get is the P&L, balance sheet, AR, AP, and trial balance, nothing more. So why not wise up and upgrade to a much more powerful management accounting system that can give you management information which is critical for future success? But that is just part of the story. We also give you operational reports that can tell you about your sales history. Earlier on, we noted that for June, no sales have been recorded. We can also see that the sales seem to be on a downward trend if we compare the last 3 months. So the sales history report includes invoice summary by specific period and detailed sales listing of unconfirmed invoices. This is maybe where the mystery is. Maybe for the month of June, you have still got many unconfirmed invoices. You can even go further by looking at sales breakdown by customer for the past 12 months. Listing of customers with 0 sales, and top-ranking customers by any specified period. You can also plan your delivery and get a feel of deliveries that has not taken place yet. This is again another area where you want to look for information because if delivery is outstanding, then it cannot be invoiced yet, which could explain why your sales for the month of June is 0. We also have a future action report. To take future action, you have to have information like the outstanding customer order listing found in the system, and you can input this as an outstanding matter that requires future action. You can have an outstanding order listing, back order report, and pending deliveries by customer over the next 3, 6, 9, or 12 months. So this would give you a good feel of what to expect regarding sales and deliveries over this period. It will give you an indication of the future trend of billing and alert you to whether you have enough backlog business. How much more sales do you need to do in the meantime to ensure a healthy level of sales? Other reports like unconfirmed quotation by customer and unconfirmed quotation by salesman will facilitate timely action to be taken. If there is reported low sales volume, you want to know if there are any outstanding quotations or pending business that requires salesmen to follow up and convert into sales. The credit status report is also useful. You want to look at the credit standing for any particular customer, how much official credit limit was granted, what is the credit term, and what is the available credit. We also have an action planner, which is also very useful because it allows you to update and print an action list. For example, if we want to take an action sometime next month, we can use this action update to remind us to do it. Select a particular job, for example, backlog accounting to clear late accounts for Company A with financial year ending 31st December 2014. The new job description will then be saved into the Job Master for future use. You can indicate the staff in charge, in this case, the account in charge, and the task manager will allow us to input the type of action to be taken. Let us say, to collect the input documents or the source document for input. That could be the very first task. Maybe the next task is to organize the input and when it should be completed by. The third task will be to write a feedback letter to the client to ask for missing documents no later than a certain date. An action can be inputted and 2 or more actions can be inputted, each one with a future date. And then you can print out an action listing for any period you want. You can even specify a period way into the future. For example, from the 1st of July to the 31st of December. So from there, you can then call up the action list of all those pending actions within this period, from the 1st of July to the 31st of December. Of course, you can also call up the action list for shorter periods, say from the 17th to the 31st of July. Here you can plan the action that you want to take for this period. This operational report is a very powerful report to help you plan ahead and make better business decisions. Next, let us explain the non-trade listing. Well, you rarely use this, but usually by the end of the financial year, when you want to send in your accounts for tax compilation, it will be helpful to have this listing so that your accountant doing the tax compilation for you will know that there are certain non-trade income that you have included. And this non-trade listing will show those expenses in your P&L, which is not a legitimate business expense. Other likely expense include personal expenses or private car expenses, which should be excluded. Lastly, the missing key data report is for those who want to implement IRAS-compliant accounting. Unlike payroll, you cannot just buy the system and expect the IRAS-compliant system to do everything for you. In the case of IRAS-compliant accounting, you will need at least 2 months or more to collect key data elements like the UEN, country code, and GST registration number if applicable from each and every supplier and customer. This information, which we call the key data elements, must be inputted into your system in respect of every supplier's and customer's record. If you do not have them inputted, even though your system is IRAS compliant, it cannot generate the IRAS audit file and prescribed listings for you. This report will show you all incomplete records so that you can quickly take action to make your system and records fully IRAS compliant. So why not take advantage of the free upgrade now using ICV vouchers? Call our customer care hotline at 633-94998 or 633-62575 for immediate assistance. Hurry, as we do not want you to miss this deadline. Thank you again for the interest in TradPack Enhanced IAF version.